In this video, I want to share with you 5 important tips on helping you to raise the standard of manhood in your life as a man. And we're starting right now. Hi, my name is Walter Strong, the host of Real Men Rising YouTube channel, where we share helpful tips to inspire men like yourself to lead by love and integrity in your home. And as I said in our opening this morning, we're going to be sharing and getting into 5 important tips to help you to raise the standard of manhood in your life as a husband, as a father, and as a man of integrity. And so if you're new here, let me know in the chat where you're watching me from. Give me a hashtag team live. And if you're part of the Real Men community this morning joining, yeah, you know what to do. Hashtag team live. If you're catching the replay, hashtag team replay in the comment section. And as we get into this Man Talk Live episode year in review, we are excited as we close out this year strong and as we get ready for a new year upon us. And so, hey, I'm ready. I'm ready. Grab a pen, grab a pad. Let's get into a discussion. Let's get into this content on raising the standard of manhood in your life. Man Talk Live year in review. And looking at this platform that we have now for over 6 months on this channel of Real Men Rising, starting over on starting a new YouTube channel, man, it I'll be honest with you, it was a challenge for me. It was a challenge for me doing one particular piece of content for over 3 to 4 years, and then now to make the switch over the last 6 months to a new YouTube channel covering and discussing a new topic of content, particularly on manhood and helping me and you to be great husbands, strong fathers, and men of integrity. It was a challenge, but nevertheless, it was a challenge that I was excited for. I was passionate about. And as I look back over this last 6 months, starting over, it definitely has felt and it felt right in doing. You as a man, as you look back over this last year, look back over this last 6 months, you too maybe had to start over all over again and to start and doing something new. You may have had to make a pivot in your life, and you were not really clear on if it was really something you needed to do or should do, or if you were clear if it was really going to work. But yet you had the courage to make the pivot. You have the courage to make the change in your life, whether if that change was professionally, whether if that change was academically, whether if that change was within your household and your family. Making a changing pivot and starting over definitely sometimes can be a very intimidating thing to do. But nevertheless, it's a needed thing if you know within your heart, if it aligns within your purpose, if it aligns within the vision and the goals that you have for your life, not just have for your life, but you feel that God has for your life. And so starting over this last 6 months on this new channel is definitely been an exciting thing to do. On my previous channel, I made a lot of content that was kind of focused more on educational how-to content, particular in the genre and in the niche of YouTube. But as I looked at the landscape of where content creation was, and in that particular niche that I was making content for over the last 4 years, I wanted to stand out as a content creator. I wanted my content to really stand out and connect with the right audience. And so as I looked at pivoting and changing this channel over to Real Men Rising, making the decision to start over was definitely the right decision to make for me as a content creator, the right decision for me as a man. being able to share content that I'm truly passionate about, in helping men to be better men in their lives, to discover their purpose in life, and to uncover, unearth the dormant potential that is on the inside of them. Men being able to finally come to terms in life and understanding their identity of who they are. Um, Topics such as these are something that I'm very passionate about, and that I really enjoy getting up every morning, and not just going live, or uploading a video on YouTube, but just having a daily conversation with another man sitting across from a table, having a cup of coffee or a latte, or my favorite beverage. It's something that I'm very passionate about, and so starting over on this new YouTube channel provided me the opportunity and the platform to do so. And so, just, just excited. It's been a slow start, um, but nevertheless, the Word of God says that, we shouldn't despise small beginnings. We shouldn't despise small beginnings, um, because ultimately, that what starts small has the potential to becoming so much bigger later on in the journey. I'm reminded of the acorn that falls from a tree. Within the potential of that acorn is a big oak tree. Within the potential of that big oak tree is a forest that, ultimately, that can grow over time. But it starts small. And so, being willing to start over and to start small is something that I've been willing to embrace this past year in 2024, knowing and understanding that things are going to take time. I just have to continue to be consistent. I have to continue to stay motivated and stay committed to the process. Be committed to the process. Be willing to trust the process. I remember hearing a video by a content creator named Trent Shelton, who did a video on trusting the process, and he gave the the um the illustration of planting a seed in a farm, in the soil of a ground, in the backyard of his grandparents' garden, and very excited, planting the seed. He got up the next morning with the expectation, hoping to see the fruit of his effort, and to his surprise, he ended up coming to the realization that what he planted in the soil was not something that was going to just immediately bring forth fruit and a harvest. His grandparent, I believe it was his grandfather, I believe it was, shared with him that this was something that was going to take time. But over a period of time, after he went home, he got a phone call and got the news that the seed that he had planted ultimately brought forth a fruit and brought a harvest. And so he came to the understanding, embracing the principle that when we start over and we plant seeds into the ground for a new beginning, a new stage, a new chapter in our lives, that we have to be willing to trust the process. We have to trust the process of it being planted in the soil, in the dirt, understanding that the seed doesn't have any emotions. The seed doesn't have any feelings like me and you as human beings. But the seed doesn't take the position or the attitude or the mentality that I'm being buried in all this dirt. I'm being buried in all this dirt, and I'm being covered from all this sunlight and air and oxygen. But the seed understands that it has to be planted. So as it is planted through the process, it gets watered. It gets watered, and then any weeds that try to grow amongst that particular seed. Let's just say if it was a seed that, of, that would bring forth cabbage and greens. I remember my grandmother used to plant a lot of cabbage and greens in her garden, and she would from time to time have to go out there and check on them and make sure that there wasn't any weeds or any unnecessary things that was trying to choke the process of that seed bringing forth the fruit and the vegetables. She had to be willing to go and make sure that there was no type of um, animals like squirrels that would try to eat upon it and stop it from being able to come forth and to bring forth the vegetables that she had planted, that ultimately she could harvest and be able to then to cook and then to be able to serve as a wonderful meal for her family. And so she was diligent in the process and she trusted the process. And so that's something that I'm learning in this stage in my life, that I'm hoping that you are learning in the stage of your life as a man, that you are trusting the process. You may have had to start over this year. You may have to start a new job. You may needed to move to a new city. You maybe had to go back to school to continue your education. Whatever is that you had to do in 2024, knowing starting over was the right thing to do. Starting over was the right thing to do. And starting over, though things may seem small, don't get discouraged. Trust the process. Trust the process in your life. Trust the process in your life. And that's a great manhood tip for me and you as men. We got to be willing to trust the process. We have to be willing to start over, even if we start small, but we got to be willing to start over. We have to realize that what we did yesterday, what we did a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, what worked yesterday ultimately is the preparation for us doing something new for today and for tomorrow. It's the preparation. It's the training that we've needed for the new start that we need. So be willing to trust the process. And so starting over with this new YouTube channel has been definitely an exciting thing to do. Being able to find my ideal niche audience, which is you as men in particular that are between the ages of 34 to 45, men who are between the ages of um, 24, 24 to about 35, that age, those two age demographic of men, to be able to create content to encourage men like yourself who have a passion in life who want to be able to be better men, to be better husbands, to be better fathers. This is a channel that I was very passionate about wanting to create, because as I said before, as the past YouTube channel that I had before, um, doing a lot of how to education content on the topic of YouTube, as I looked at the landscape of how so many people were creating this type of content, I felt it was time to just now get into my lane, get into my lane, and to create the content that I knew I was willing and passionate to create. Um, there are a lot of great content creators out in YouTube, such as my man Tech Troublemaker, who was in the chat this morning, jumping in. I'm so glad to see you this morning. Tech says, pull him up right quick. He says, "That's my goal. That's my goal." Uh, to be able to create great content and to be able to create um, content that's going to make a difference and add values in people's lives. That's what it's all about. But I think it's important for us as men to get in our own lane. Um, I think there was a period of time creating how to content, education content for YouTube. There was a period of time where I believe I needed to learn how to do that. So that way, after doing that for over 4 years, after it was time to pivot and to start a new channel, particularly on a channel that deals with manhood issues and manhood topics and manhood realities, I felt I'm in a better place now, where now I can start um, learning how to create content the right way. If you're just starting on YouTube for the first time and you really don't know what you're creating, you're just kind of creating videos, you're kind of uploading YouTube shorts or going live for the purpose because it's something that's exciting to you. It's something that you feel that you have a desire to want to do. But when you don't really clearly have um, an understanding of the niche audience of who your content is for, when you clearly don't understand who your audience that your videos are for, um, it can be a process. And so I'm grateful for these first 4 years of being on YouTube now to have to now pivot over to the content that I'm making. Text says, to be a great dad is also my goal. You know, it should, as men, when God blesses us with the mantle and the responsibility of fatherhood, that should be one of our greatest and most important goals in our life. Our first goal in life is our relationship with God and with Jesus Christ. I believe that wholeheartedly. If you're a man of faith, that's the most important relationship in your life. And then when if you're married and you have a wife and you get the opportunity to be a great husband and a devoted father, that is a great goal, um, to be able to seek to accomplish. And I tell you, Roy, what I'm understanding about the journey of fatherhood, the journey of fatherhood when they're just a little child and they're learning to walk for the first time. They're going through what the world calls the terrible twos. I don't call it the terrible twos. I call it the developmental years. I don't call it the terrible twos when your son or a daughter goes through that period of time. I call it the developmental years because it doesn't stop at 2 years old. It can go from 3, it can go to 4, it can sometimes go to 5 years old. So I call it the developmental years, but it's still a part of the journey of fatherhood. And then being as a father, depending on your work schedule, if you have the opportunity to then be able to take your son or daughter to school for the first time or to put them on the bus for the first time, that is part of the journey of fatherhood and being able to experience that moment. And if you're not putting them on the bus, being able to take them to school and to watch them go into the school building, whether if it's elementary or middle school, that is a goal of fatherhood that you want to see your child do very well in school. I remember telling my daughter in her earlier years of academic learning, uh, Dad just wants a few things from you. I want you to do your very best. I want you to be very committed to what you have to do in school. And I want you to have fun. Those are the three things that I would communicate to my daughter in her first and second and third grade of elementary school, and I would continue to echo those three things to her in her sixth and seventh and eighth grade, and now her being her second year of college. The message is kind of the message is kind of changed, but the goal is still the same. Where I told her I want her to do her very best, to be very committed, and to have fun. Now my message to her is, as a parent, is simply to know that I love you and dad believes in you. I love you and I believe in you. And as a father, I think that's very important for us to be able to communicate that to our son and our daughter. I'm a little off topic on what we're going to discuss this morning, but we're going to go with the flow with it. I think it's important for us to be able to tell our son or daughter, even when they get age 16, even when they hit age 21, even when they get ready to start their own family and get married, even when, if we're fortunate to see our first grandchild, to constantly let our son and daughter know, I believe in you and I love you. That's a powerful message that I think is a part of the goal of fatherhood. When is the last time you, as a dad, I am completely off topic on my notes here, but it's all about raising the standard of manhood and sharing manhood tips and advice here this morning. When is the last time you told your son and your daughter you love them and you believe in them? I could end the stream right here. I could end the stream right here, and I believe I've communicated my message. But we're going to continue on. So if you're in the chat this morning, let me know in the chat where you're watching me from. Give me a hashtag Team Live in the chat. And if you're watching the replay, give me a hashtag Team Replay. We're sharing 5 important tips on helping you as a man, sharing some good manhood advice on raising the standard of manhood. So we talked about starting over. We talked about starting over in 2024, where we were starting this new channel. The other thing that I've learned on this new channel in the last 6 months, and I learned this on my previous channel over the last 4 years, of just learning how to create quality content. And starting this new YouTube channel, it challenged me to learn to do some new things. And I transitioned from just primarily just doing live streams and YouTube shorts to starting doing, YouTube videos that were anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes. I'm still working on trying to get to that window of 5 to 10 minutes, but it challenged me to learn how to create YouTube videos and to get in front of the camera and to be able to sit down, script out some content, and then share my message. And if you're a person who has to use a teleprompter, if you have to use a script, if you have to use bullet points, it challenged me to sit down and to be able to do videos. And then after doing the videos, just learning how to do some basic editing, not any advanced, jump cut transition type editing, but some basic editing that would present a piece of quality content for you, the viewer, that would want to watch that content. And so being able to create, as I look at my catalog of over 60 videos that I've made so far, having made my first 100 crappy videos, I was very determined not to make 100 crappy videos, but I've been determined to just learn how to make 100 quality videos. I get some of the advice that YouTube creators want to communicate to new YouTubers. Individuals like Roberto Blake and individuals like Sean Cannell, they want to encourage us. I'm even guilty of it myself, and telling new content creators, just create your first 50 bad videos. Just get in front of the camera and create your first 100 crappy videos. I think that's bad advice, and I think it's outdated advice. I'll say it again. I think that's bad advice, and I think that's poor advice. Think about it. If you started a new job and you were hired by your management team to do and to complete a particular task for the company. They wouldn't tell you just, here, we're going to give you this amount of work, and we want you to kind of, learn the system. We want you to go ahead and start learning how to do certain things on Excel, and learn how to do certain things with Outlook, or whatever it is, that what type of work you do. Your manager, your supervisor wouldn't tell you, just go ahead and just do 50 of your worst piece of content work that you have to do. Just create the next 100 bad pieces of work that you can do. They wouldn't do that. They wouldn't, because they realize that what they're asking you to do is going to be for the benefit of members and customers that their company and their business have to serve. Now, if that's true in the corporate and the business world, why should we turn around and embrace the advice that you just got to create your first 50, 100 bad videos? Now, I get what they're trying to. Part of what they're trying to say is that if you want to do content, whether if it's through shorts or doing live streams or doing videos from 5 to 10 minutes, you may need some coaching on being able to get confident in front of the camera. And if you go to my previous channel, you'll find tons of videos that will encourage you to have confidence on camera, how to look at the camera, to talk as if Roy is sitting right across from me at Starbucks, and we're having some beverages and some coffee, whether hot or cold, and we're just having a good conversation and enjoying one another's time together. I get that. But to turn around and to tell individuals, create your first 50, 100 bad videos, no, I don't agree with it. And now being able to start the second channel, or let me correct myself, my third channel, my other channel that I started, it taught me that just because you have a passion for something, that does not necessarily mean that that's your lane. I am an avid sports fan when it comes to NBA basketball. I started an NBA YouTube channel and wanting to talk about NBA sports, but what I learned about doing sports and news, it's something that you have to constantly be on top of and stay plugged in real time when breaking news is jump. But what I had grown accustomed to was creating content that was evergreen, content that was not only going to be able to add value to you as the viewer 30 days from now, but 5 years from now. And so that's when I realized that, hey, I'm in my wrong lane. I need to get into the right lane. And that's how Real Men Rising came to be. Got a couple of comments here from Roy in the chat. So let's go ahead and just see what Roy is saying here. Roy says, to be a great dad is a great goal. We hit that one already. Roy goes on to say, I should have started with a grandkids first. Should have started with the grandkids. Hey, look, being a granddad, hey, is just another step in the journey of fatherhood, where now you are now responsible not only just for one generation, but now you're responsible for passing wisdom and love on for the next generation. So, hey, couldn't happen to a greater man than yourself there, Roy. Proud of you. Proud of you. Hey, if you're getting great value out of this discussion this morning on 5 tips on helping you to raise the standard of manhood in your life to be a great husband, devoted father, and a man of integrity, let me know in the chat. Give me a thumbs up by clicking the like button, and give me a hashtag Team Live. Share this on your favorite social media platform, whether if that's Facebook, IG, X, as it's now known, or LinkedIn. And if you're new to Real Men Rising YouTube channel, where you want to learn more how to lead by love and integrity in your home as a man, subscribe to the channel, click the alert notification button, and be a part of the conversation of real men on this channel that raise the standard of manhood in their life. So we talked about starting over again. We talked about quality content. The other thing that I wanted to talk about in this year-end episode of Man Talk Live is the importance of developing new skills as men, developing new skills as men, to be willing to be a lifelong learner, embracing education and learning. I think that's so important for us as men to not get to a place where we become complacent, where we become settled. Sometimes I think as we grow older as men, if we let the fire of and the passion of learning go out and dwindle and go out, we can become settled in our mindset of how we see things. We end up having, instead of having a growth mindset, we end up having a closed mindset. We have a settled mindset where we think, well, we've learned everything that we can learn, and we seen everything that we can see, and we've done everything that we think that should the way it should be done. But when we look around in our society today, our corporate and business worlds are constantly evolving, saying, what's next? What's next? What can we do different? What can we do different? How can we do it a different way that ultimately that's going to drive the bottom line for our businesses and grow our profits for our businesses. Now, if men in the corporate world understand this, I think it's important for us as men in our personal lives to kind of have that same approach and same mindset. And so it requires being a lifelong learner. It requires being willing to develop new skills. As I said, in starting this new channel and starting to do videos that were anywhere from 1 to 5 minutes or 5 to 10 minutes, it was going to require me learning how to do editing, learning how to do some basic fundamental editing. And I remember the first time I finally grasped the understanding of learning how to put B-roll to video footage. I had been trying several years before, but I just didn't really seem to grasp the concept of how to put B-roll footage to video footage or to A-roll footage in a video. I couldn't seem to grasp it. But one day I sat down, I put my cheeks in the seat, as Michael Hyatt always says. If you're ever going to write a blog, if you're going to write a book, if you're going to start a new task, sometimes you just need to just get everything out of the way and put your cheeks in the seats and start working on what you want to learn. And when the light finally came on, how to not only trim a video from the beginning part to the end, but to be able to put the B-roll footage to the A-roll footage, and to make it flow in such a way where it was telling a story. Man, I felt like a new kid on Christmas Day who had opened up his Christmas present and got his favorite Christmas gift. That's what being committed to being a lifelong learner and developing new skills can do to you, for you as a man. What have been some new skills in 2024 that you've had to learn that are new? Sometimes we develop and learn new skills because of adversity, because of some tough, hard things that we have to go through in life. You know, we're so used to kind of managing and handling our finances and paying our bills one way, paying by cash, paying by debit card. And then as a result, you go through something in your finances, you go through something in the way you handle your money, and now you get introduced to mobile banking on your phone, where you can now check your balances on your phone, where you can be able to pay bills on your phone. So you end up developing a new skill through a tool that you've been using all along through texting and communicating and making phone calls. And now by downloading an app by your financial institution, you now can do mobile banking. You don't have to go to the branch and deposit your check, but you can just take a picture of your check with your phone and basically upload it. And now you've did a deposit in the convenience of your home, and you never had to get into your car, drive over to the bank and deposit it at the ATM or teller window. Developing a new skill is something that we as men have to be willing to do. And I share that the same way that I've been developing and learning new skills with this new YouTube channel called Real Men Rising. It's all for the purpose so that I can be able to create content that's going to add value to you as a man. Creating content that's going to add value to you, as Roy said, and being a granddad. Being willing to develop new skills that's going to provide you the needed advice to help you to be able to have a better relationship with your son or your daughter, to be able to develop new skills that's going to help you to be a great husband, to be able to say, when someone says how long you've been married, you can say, hey, I've been married for 25 years to my best friend. But it all requires developing new skills. And that's what we've been doing here on the Real Men Rising YouTube channel. Learning to develop new skills, getting in front of the camera and recording videos, going live. If you notice now, we don't have the intro anymore. I was one of those content creators who fell in love in having an intro for my podcast live stream episode. I just needed to have music, knowing full well that in today's time of YouTube, a lot of people don't come to watch your live streams or your podcast or your video for your intro or your outro. They come to hear and to see you and the content that you have to present. And when I realized that because of some changes I had to make in my finances, that as much as I loved Epidemic Sound and other, royalty-free music companies, this money that I'm giving them every month can definitely be reallocated and used in a much better and productive way. So I said, for me to be giving them this $18 to $20 just for a couple of tracks that I'm using, and I'm only using less than 15 seconds of that track, I may use it for some repurposing purposes through some social media clips. But again, it's less than 10 seconds, and I'm giving them $18 to $20 just to have the licensing, and I'm not really fully utilizing the full songs that I'm using. Sometimes you have to be willing to develop new skills by doing some new things a different way. And it's also going to ultimately help you be a cost saver in your finances. Thought I'd just throw that out. So we talked about starting over again. We talked about learning to make quality content. We talked about being willing to develop new skills. The other thing that I wanted to share with this new YouTube channel that we're still in the work in progress is finding the right audience. And I believe we've begun to do that in this 6 months that this channel has um, been now creating and uploading video. As I look at the YouTube analytics, we're starting to get glimpses of who our target audience is, because it's interesting. Over 85% of the viewers who watch the content on Real Men Rising are men. It's predominantly men. But then I have that other 15% that are women. And that's interesting to me, because it as I begin to tap into who this 15% of women were, I began to understand that the women that were watching my content were mothers who have sons that they love, and they want to be able to connect with. And so I began to understand that part of the content that we make here on Real Men Rising has to be made in such a way that it helps mothers to be able to understand um when her son is going through some silent frustration, and what are some of the silent frustrations and battles that her son may be going through. Whether if her son is 16 or whether if her son is 32, what are some of the silent battles that he could be going through, and how can she be able to reach out and connect to him? And so I began to understand that 15% were women that are part of this audience. They are wives who have husbands that they love, or they may have fathers. They are daughters to fathers. So being able to, once you find your right audience, begin to start to understand who your audience is. Understand who your audience is. Begin to understand the age demographic, as I said earlier, about who your audience is. And these same things that I'm sharing from a content creation standpoint, if you are an entrepreneur, or you're a person who's interested in getting into business and working for yourself, these are some of the same things that you need to understand as well. As a man, maybe you don't have a business, but you are responsible for mentorship and mentoring other young people, young adults. You need to understand who your audience is. You need to understand the age demographic of who you're going to be mentoring. Are you better at mentoring in groups? Are you better at mentoring one on one? You need to understand who your audience is, and what your audience is made of, and your age demographic. What are their likes? What are their interests? What are their hobbies? Um, are they employed, or are they self-employed? And so the same way that we are in the process of better understanding the audience here on Real Men Rising YouTube channel, I realize that's all going to be a part of the process of this channel growing. Um, I've had to make a commitment to myself on this new channel, that though I may be tempted from time to time, don't get caught up in the numbers on how many views, don't get caught up on how many subscribers, don't get caught up on who's hit their first 1,000 or who's hit their first 100. You just be committed on understanding your audience. You just be committed and learning how to make quality content. Um, that is important for men. And I've heard the feedback. I've heard the feedback through the comment section of men. I've heard the feedback from men through DMs and direct messages, whether on Instagram or through LinkedIn, or I've heard it in person through individuals who've reached out to me, who've seen me in public and said, "Hey man, I really appreciate that latest video that you posted, that latest short that you posted. Man, it was right on time." And so that's what it's about. That's what it's about, and being able to find your right audience. And then what's next? What's next? As this year is coming to a close, and 2025 is upon us. What's next? What's next for Real Men Rising YouTube channel? Well, we're going to continue to work on making quality content, not just live streams, not just in shorts, but in videos. We've had a couple of videos that have really popped off and got over 100 views. And so that's encouraging to me that these people, at the end of the day, as men, we have very busy lives, so we may not be willing to listen to an entire podcast, but we're willing to listen and to watch a video that's maybe 5 to 10 minutes. As men, we may be busy with family and work-life balance, but we may be willing to listen to a YouTube short between 1 to 3 minutes. And so we're going to continue to put quality content that speaks directly to you as a husband, as a father, as a man. Right now, we are also working on putting together a PDF how-to guide, you know, on the state of manhood. Not a how-to guide, but some information on what is the state of manhood in today's time for men. We're working on that, and my goal that I'm set for myself in 2025 is to have that done by the first quarter, so that can be a PDF that you as a viewer can download by providing your email address. We want to take the next step from being a viewer to a subscriber to one now where you are part of the community. And so the best way that I know how is to create a PDF guide on the things that talk about the state of manhood, that talk about the importance of how do we recapture the true vision of manhood. There's so many concepts and beliefs of what people think manhood is about, and is being a man really important anymore in today's time because of our society, because of same everyone wants to be the same, male or female, we all are the same. But the truth of the matter is God made us different. God made us male and female for a reason. He made man and woman for a reason. And when we come together as man and woman, we're able to birth a family. And out of the birth of family comes community. Out of the birth of community comes a nation. Out of man and woman comes family. Out of man and woman comes generations to follow. And so by the end of this first quarter, we're going to have that PDF as a free downloadable guide available to you. As a man who's a part of the Real Men community, Real Manhood community. And so we're going to have that. So that's just a few things that we're working on in terms of what's next here on the channel. Also, just being able to get some guests on. We had our good friend James Bush on. We talked about how to handle disappointment. And so I had the opportunity to repurpose that interview and share a lot of the key points of the video with his channel, but I also kept some for our channel. So if you check out our latest video on why you need to look into the mirror as a man, that is a repurposed clip from the interview on how do we handle disappointment in our lives as men. So you can check out that video and then also check out the entire video interview with James Bush. So we're gonna do some more collaborations and some more interviews with men. And so those are just some of the things that are next. And then most importantly, you the viewer, growing this channel, and reaching more men. The vision that I have, the same way that Promise Keepers was able to make an impact in the lives of men, so much to the point where over 500 to 750,000 men on the steps of the Washington mall steps in Washington, D.C. gathered together, just as Edwin Lewis Code had the Christian Men's Network, Real Men Rising YouTube channel. That's my goal, to be able to make an impact in the lives of men, husbands, fathers, not just in the U.S. but over in London and UK and in Australia and over in New Zealand and all throughout this world, to be able to make content that's kingdom centered, that's kingdom and Christ like centered content. At the end of the day, as men, we realize that if we want to be great husbands, if we want to be devoted fathers and men of integrity, we have to first learn how to be faithful sons to God our Father. And so at the center and the foundation of everything that we talk about, it's going to be Christ. It's going to be the kingdom of God. It's always going to be biblically pointed back to the word of God. And so those are just some of the things that are next here. So as we get ready to close out, if you have any questions, put a Q in front of the question. Any comments, put a C in front of the comment. Thank you, Roy. # Team Live. If you've been watching the replay up to this point, I truly appreciate you checking out this year in review of Man Talk Live, where we've been sharing 5 tips and more on how to raise the standard of manhood in your life as a man. We're so grateful that you are watching the replay up to this point. Click that thumbs up button for me as you're watching the replay. Leave a comment in the comments section as you're watching the replay. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, I want to encourage you to subscribe to the channel, because we share content that's going to help you to lead by love and integrity in your home as a man, to help you to be a great husband, a devoted father, and a man of integrity in your life. And so if those things are important to you, I want to encourage you to subscribe to the channel, the Real Men Rising YouTube channel. So that's it for this episode of Man Talk Live. So grateful for Roy hanging out with me, and those of you who've been listening online, jumping in and out, and those of you who are going to be watching the replay. As we close, I learned last night in hearing the news that one of 2 men who played a very important part in my life, in my development, not just as a fan of sports, but was a person who said, who put before a lot of us as men of color, that you don't just have to be a person who puts a ball in a hoop. You don't have to be a person who just knows how to throw a football or catch a football and getting in the end zone. But you can get in front of the camera and you can be able to have an intelligent conversation about sports. And so we learned last night that Greg Gumbel from CBS passed away of cancer at age 78. And so I just want to say here on Man Talk Live, to be able to do this live, even if I don't have a big audience in front of me at this moment, watching someone like Greg Gumbel do play-by-play and announcing on football. This man was responsible to be the first Black American to call an NFL Super Bowl. I think it was Super Bowl 35, I think it was. And then he came back and did Super Bowl 38 when there would be March Madness for the NCAA men's tournament. He would be there to greet us for Selection Sunday and to culminate everything from the men's tournament to March Madness, to the Final Four, to the crowning of an NCAA men's champion. And the conversations that he was able to have about sports with individuals like Clark Kellogg, Charles Barkley, Kenny Smith, and Ernie Johnson. He was someone that who had a great influence on my life to say, hey, yeah, I can get in front of a camera and I can have a conversation, whether it's talking about sports, but most importantly, talk about manhood issues. And then the second individual that passed away this past week, had, if it would have been God's will, I could have seen myself playing in the Major League Baseball. Ricky Henderson, as a black player who ended up breaking Lou Brock's record for most steals in the major leagues in a season. He had a profound effect on me when it came to Major League Baseball. This guy was willing to lead off, and he could get on base and be able to steal second and third. He could lead off and hit a home run. He was a difference maker. Didn't know a lot about him personally, but those two individuals, learning that they passed away this past week, they had a profound impact upon my life as a young child and as a young man and as a man today. And so I just want to acknowledge them in the closing of this episode of Man Talk Live. So want to thank each and every one of you for joining us for this episode of Man Talk Live. Hey, check out this next video that YouTube is going to show you, or I'll see you in the next here on Man Talk Live. God bless.